on number 10, we're going to solve this system of equations. So we have f of x and g of x, and we want to know what is the relationship between the graphs and the solutions to when they're equal to each other. So what we're going to do is go to y equals. Let me clear these out. And I'm going to type f in for y1. And g in for y2. And then let's see where they cross. Okay, there they are. Okay, and so they have different answer choices, but usually whenever it's a problem like this where you want to find where these two are equal and there's only x's, that only answer you give are the answers that are x's. And so where they cross is when x is 0, so the one at the top, and when x is 2. So I think that's choice A. Yes, so a equals 0 and x equals 2 are the solutions because f of 0 equals g of 0 and f of 2 equals g of 2.
But it's not on the x though.
It's not on the what?
On the x, it's on the y.
Yeah, but you only, because you're solving this equation right here, it only has x's. So the answers are only going to have x's. So the points where they cross are 0, 4, and 2, 0, but you just use the x coordinates, not the y. Okay. I think that 11 is also a calculator question. Now this one is different. We have absolute value. And so probably at some point on your EOC test, you're going to have to do absolute value in the calculator. And it's alpha y equals and then number 1. All right. And we want to know where they intersect. And so you might be able to tell just by looking at the answer choices. But if there were some that were kind of really close, to find where they intersect, it's second trace number 5. And I've always moved close. If they only cross at one place, you technically don't have to move close. I hit enter 3 times. And when it says intersection, that is where they cross. So -5, 3, which is also choice A. So I'm going to write down the steps for absolute value. So a second trace. No, I'm sorry. That was the steps to find the intersection. Absolute value is the alpha window. That's also where you go to find the summation and where you go to find the log base. So if you're not sure what to do on the calculator to find something, try alpha window. And then to find the intersection, it's second and then trace and then number 5. And then enter 3 times. Okay, so on number 12, it tells you to use the quadratic equation. That's kind of nice. So you don't have to try different things. You can just do the quadratic equation. You do need to know it to be able to use it. I think we used it on other parts of this test too. Right, so A is going to be 3, B is -6, and C is 5. So in the calculator, I'm just going to do negative 6 in parentheses squared minus 4 times 3 times 5. Now, if you don't square that negative in the parentheses, your calculator will give you the wrong answer. Okay. And because that is a negative, we are going to pull out an I. And then we're going to see if there is a perfect square that goes into 24. And there is. It is 4. 4 goes into 24 6 times. All right, so this is going to be 6 plus or minus 2i over square root of 6 over 6. Now, none of those are the answers. And so what someone has done is divided each of those by 6. So when you divide 6 by 6, you're going to get 1. And then 2 divided by 6 is 1/3. And they have the I in a little different order than I do, but the answer is just going to be A. Now, we talked earlier on the calculator part, I think when we did number 5, that you can, on the equations, if it's on the calculator version, store the answers and just check. So I'll show you how to do that too. So we would do 1 plus the square root of 6 over 3i, and we're going to store that for x. Now you have to be careful on the square root of 6. So come out of the square root and then do divided by 3. And then I is second decimal point. And then store x. Now you get something crazy looking. That's okay. And then I'm just going to type in the original problem.
Yeah.
I is second decimal point. So 0 plus 0i, is that the same as 0, do you think? It definitely is. Did y'all just get 0, or did you get 0 plus 0i? Did anybody do it? Either way, it is the answer, and so choice A works. All right. Okay, so this one, number 13, we can solve it the long way, or we can just plug in the answer choices. What do y'all want me to do? Both? Only one way? Nobody cares. All right, let's do it both ways. So if I'm going to solve this equation, I would get my x squareds together by adding 2x squared. And then I would get my numbers together by subtracting 15. And then divide by 3. Right, and then to get x, instead of x squared, we're going to do the square root, and we take the positive and negative square root. And because there's a negative, we're going to pull out an I, and then think of it like a positive 12. And 4 goes into 12 3 times. So positive and negative 2i squared of 3. Now, if you didn't want to do that, you could start with the first answer choice, A, and store that for x, and then just see if you get the same thing on both sides.
How did you do that? Like, because whenever I stored it and put it back in.
Yeah.
I got like a really long number.
Huh. You didn't get 0 plus 0 I? Let me make sure you stored it. Oh, it's minus 6i. Okay. And then to save on time, if you want to, if negative 2i squared root of 3 works, then positive 2i squared root of 3 will also work. Like those answers come in pairs. Same thing with these. If this one is going to work, the one that's like it, but the opposite is also going to work. So you can just check one of them. If one of them works, they both do. Okay, couple more. I hope you guys remember 14. I think you guys got pretty good at when we were doing probability, good at ones like 14. So a group of people were surveyed and asked whether they think they will become famous one day. The results are summarized in the table. If a male from the survey is randomly selected, what is the probability he believes he will become famous? So who do we only care about to answer this question? We only care about males because we know for sure that it's a male. So we're just going to use this row. All right. And then how many of people in that row think they'll become famous? Good. So 35 out of all the males, 80. And then you would just divide that 35 by 80 in the calculator. And you get that, which doesn't match exactly with any of them, but it is the closest to 44%. All right, and then you guys didn't have a great copy of number 15, so you might have missed this question, and it might not be your fault. So what it tells you, let me use a different color than that, is that this was a linear expression, and you divided by it and got a remainder 0. And then x plus 1, you divided, and you got a remainder of negative 4. And then x minus 3, you divided and got 2. And x plus 3, you divided and got 0. And the question is, what must be a root of the polynomial? So if you divide x minus 1 into the polynomial, whatever it is, and you get 0, that means that the opposite, x equals positive 1, is a 0 or a root. Now, if you get a remainder of negative 4, then that's nothing. If you get a remainder of 2, then it's nothing. But for x plus 3, what should the root or the 0 be? Negative 3, good. Because you got a remainder of 0, so the answer would be A. All right. Do you guys have questions on any of the problems on this subpart?